What's going on, y'all? It's your man Remnant. I was asked a little while ago to give my testimony, and you know what? I never thought about it to record it at least because I've done it in shows and I've done it in songs so often, and because I lived it, I never really thought of it as extraordinary. So, but then I had to think my testimony may actually help somebody who's either coming from the same place or finds themselves, in similar situations. So I'm gonna oblige them. I started out young dude, typical pew baby as we called ourselves. Kids was raised up in church, typical scenario. Thing that made my story a little bit different though is, my mother, die hard, go hard believer, rooted and grounded in the faith, minister. My father, was at the time, one of the biggest drug dealers in the area, definitely in the city. But yes, they were married. And to this day still are. So I'm not a out of wedlock child. My parents were married, then conceived me. So I was brought up basically in both worlds. My father kept his street stuff to the streets. My mother kept us deep in the church. I'm talking Sunday school, church, afternoon service, prayer and business meeting, Bible classes on Friday nights, so usher board, the typical church kid. And like many rebellious church kids, I really wasn't feeling that life for me. Not that I hadn't seen the power of God in people's lives. I just didn't see it as something I wanted to be a part of. So got a little bit older, started experimenting through life and, making my moves and gaining the experiences that a young man gains. My drug of choice got introduced to me when I was about 10 years old. Had a babysitter that I actually couldn't even tell you what was on her mind, but she took the opportunity to awaken my manhood, if you will. So me and her had this illicit affair for about 3 years. And anybody that knows, sex is an extremely addictive drug. But it comes with these kingdoms. And oftentimes you find in the kingdom of having sex at such a young age, insecurities, it comes with a lot. Soul ties are a real thing. So by the time I hit 13, she outgrew me, if you will. She was ready to move on, and she was all I'd known, so I took that rejection pretty hard. And what they tell you, the best way to get over one lover is to get under another. So I went from one toxic relationship to another. By the time I was in the 9th grade, my 8th grade girlfriend had to have an abortion because the condom broke. And like I said, that was my drug of addiction. Yeah. Fast forward a little bit, I'm getting deep into the music game, getting heavy off into hip hop and the things that it brings. The lifestyle that it's talking about. I'm like, yo, this feels real similar, because at that time, what a lot of the artists were talking about was the lifestyle that my father provided for us, but was trying to keep us away from at the same time. So he goes to jail for a little bit, leaving me as the man of the house with this awkward sexual awakening, a spiritual mother that's watching and praying. But what can you really do with an out of control teenager? And granted, I was probably the worst kind of out of control teenager because I wasn't rambunctious with mine. I knew exactly what to do, exactly what to say, when and where and how to do it. I was very manipulative with mine. So by the time I hit 18, my girlfriend at the time, she's now pregnant. I decide I want this street life way more than I want this church life that my mother was trying to provide for us. So I sit back, get off in these streets because I want to live this life that I'm rapping about, not just be talking about it, because that's phony. So I get up in the streets, start smoking weed, start pistol packing, start selling weed. I'm selling weed, but I'm also working a job too. So I kept one foot in one world, one foot in the other. I ran that life for about 10 years. Watch friends turn enemies, watch friends die, buried friends, lost track of friends, but it was all a part of the life. Around the time my 2 children started getting a little bit older, I'm looking at them and starting to wonder, what kind of life am I going to leave to them? What's going to be my legacy? Because my life expectancy at the time was 25 years old. I had already had a couple run-ins with the law, arrested on gun charges. If it could be done, I was doing it. But along the path, I met this lady. Well, I call her a lady. She wasn't but 18 at the time. And because of the life that I had lived, not only just growing up in church, but in running in the streets, I was used to being around beautiful women, but it was something in her smile that I just had to have. So the predator in me kicked on. Started thinking of different ways that I could go ahead and get what I wanted out of this woman. Unbeknownst to me, though, she comes from a very strong spiritual family. And in my pursuit of her, I found myself back in church. Because at the time, she came, she was the out that I needed. Because, you ever be running a race? Now, I ain't going to say running a race. I'm too big to be talking about running anything. But you ever find yourself in situations where you're like, I've been here before. This is beyond deja vu. Like, this is the same mile marker. I've passed this point before. I've done this. Wake up, run the streets, go to bed, do it again. I've done this. And it wasn't getting me anywhere. It was getting me more trouble. It was getting me more headaches than anything. So, why not? When she came along, it was like, yo, this may be the breath of fresh air I'm looking for. Because honestly, I hadn't seen a smile like that, I don't think, in ever. So as I pursued her, I needed to be able to do more than just talk the talk. Because, like I said, she comes from a spiritual family, and her grandfather being a pastor, they can smell it. They can smell it on you. They can smell BS a mile away. So I started finding myself, going to Bible study. Found myself, attending church. Sometimes I would go, really in the beginning, I would go to Sunday school just so I could beat her to church, just so I could watch her walk in. Yeah, I was smitten like that. At the time, my street life was falling apart. Had another run-in with the authorities and was looking at doing 3 to 5 on an assault. So while all of that's pending and doing its thing, I'm like, okay, God, what are we really doing? You're trying to turn me from this to something. And like I said, I had children at the time, so I'm like, what legacy am I leaving to them? So I end up getting baptized in Jesus' name August 3rd, 2001. I had to go to court to find out if I was going to go to jail that September. And my attorney was like, what you trying to do? How many years do you think you can do? Honestly, I didn't want to do any. And I told him that. But then while we're sitting there, They're bringing out their witnesses. They had like 3 or 4 witnesses against me. I already knew what the charges was. I'm looking at a felony, all of that. And I told God, you know what? If today is the day that you decide that I go to jail, then I can only take that as you need a prison ministry somewhere. Long and the short, I ended up on probation. Probation officer was like, you need to report to me. They did the whole spiel and all of that. I was happy I was out though. But now I got to figure out what to do for financial support, because I was ready to let everybody go. I even told this young lady, that because we had started kicking it heavy, and I told her, like, yo, if I go to jail, you're not going to jail with me. Go live your life. You ain't but 19 now. Go live your life, man. I had pretty much was ready to throw mine away. God was like, nah, that life now belongs to me. So since that day, that's what it's been. My life belongs to him. And yes, I get it. Oh, that Jesus stuff ain't real. Hey, I'm just telling you my walk. I'm telling you how he turned me around. I'm telling you how he took the drugs out of my system. I'm not going to sit back and tell you that it's easy. I'm not going to tell you that there are not days that I don't look in the rearview mirror and go, I will tell you this, though. Staying on this path and keeping moving forward is a whole lot better than what I left behind. I lost a lot of friends because of this lifestyle. I lost a lot of connections. Doing music, I lost a lot of allies and associates. But you know what? This ministry, what it's given me, the peace of mind, the assurance to know that I'm a part of something bigger than myself, I'll take that trade-off all day long. So now, I've been walking with the Lord, 18 years now? I'm not going to tell you that every day was smooth. I just know at the end of it, it'll all be worth it. There has been a lot of things that have worked themselves out in me. There's a lot of things that still have to be worked out in me. I have to be mindful of my movements and move accordingly, because I can't just do any and everything. I can't just be with any and everybody. And I'm fine with that. Because for the ones that I've lost, that what God has given me has been so much more. That young lady, we just celebrated 18 years of marriage. We have a 19-year-old daughter and a 10-year-old son. My older two giving me grandchildren and continue to give me grandchildren. So can I say, when I look back over my life and think things over, I can honestly tell you, if it had not been for the Lord who was on my side, I already know where I'd be. Because I got a lot of friends that's there right now. I got a lot of friends that's never going to be able to touch another person. I got a lot of people that have a lot of feet that they wish they could have just did it a different way. So my testimony, my life that I put before the world every time I grab the mic and tell my stories is what God's done for me. I'm not trying to convert anybody into believing anything that they don't want to believe. I'm just telling you that this salvation thing is definitely something to it. And if I'm going to just hit you with the scripture, just got to know that you can't come to God until you first believe that he is. And he's a rewarder of those that diligently seek him. Like David said, I sought the Lord and he heard me and he delivered me. I'm not that special. Meaning he can do it for you too. Do you want it? It's yours. And it's free. But it does come with a cost. You willing to pay that price? Trust me, it's well worth the investment.